Hello friends, my name is Ngoom. Welcome to Ngoom's Garden Possibilities. I am on my patio today and I'd like to give you a brief tour of my greenhouse, what has been growing and what's ready to go into the garden. So join me and watch this video to the end if you'd like to see what I'm growing in my greenhouse. Right here is a tray of sweet bitter leaf. These are seeds that I nursed 2 weeks ago, and this is the stage that they're at. Most of them already have 2 sets of leaves. They have the cotyledon and another set of leaves, so they are good to go in terms of putting them in a bigger pot so they can grow a little bit taller. Let me show you another tray that I started much earlier. That's much bigger in height. These I started on April 3rd, and some of them are quite tall, as you can see. These are ready to be up potted so they can get a little bit taller. I usually wait for them to get at least 2 to 3 inches before putting them in the ground. It's getting warmer, so some of the seeds that did not sprout before are starting to sprout. You can see that right here. These are some of the seeds that didn't sprout before that are sprouting now, right there. So that's our sweet bitter leaf. Okay. I also have some flowers here. This is a purple heart, and I just took cuttings of the plant and put them in water so they can root. That's how you propagate them. I like to use them in my indoor planters, but also to use them on planters on the deck. And then I have different species of the wandering Jew and other, I think you call them Trandescantia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but there are different variegated species here that I'm rooting, and I will, once they have roots, I'll put them in their individual pots. They fill up nicely and make a very pretty decoration for a planter. So there you go for flowers. In these little pots right here, I have peanuts. There's one here that's already shooting, and these are the peanuts in here in the individual cells. We planted peanuts last year and they've been doing so well for the past 3-4 years that we've been growing them. As long as you start them early enough, we start them indoors because we have a short growing season. So we'll be putting these in the ground within the next few days so they can continue growing. In this tray right here, I have different kinds of squash. We have, some of them are already growing. We have our sweet Cameroon pumpkin here, which you can eat the flesh itself, you can eat the tender leaves, and then you can also crack the seeds, the melon seeds that come from that, and eat as a goosey. I have cantaloupe here that's starting to sprout. In these 2 lines, I have honeydew, and then I have kombucha squash. If you haven't tried this squash, you are missing out. This is a very delicious squash to grow. It's very sweet and I really enjoy it. I started these in May. They are warm crops and they are picking up already. They'll be going in the ground in the next week or 2. Okay. Over here, I have Mexican oregano. Again, I took the cuttings from an established plant and put them in here so they can root. And I will have individual plants from these that I can easily propagate into other containers. I've had this indoors all winter. I brought it in from last fall and it has been doing well on my windowsill. We have more kombucha squash here in these 2 containers. And then I have 1 seed here of fluted pumpkin, also known as ugu or okongobong in our native language. They are warm crops. They love the warm weather, so I'm trying to sprout the last seed here. I have others that have already sprouted. In this container, I have different types of cantaloupe. These 3 here are a French variety, Délice de la Table. And then these ones are a small Persian melon. They are quite sweet. I got them from Baker Creek Seeds. Squashes, pumpkins, zucchini, I start those in May. You don't need to start them really early. Over here we have onions. These are yellow Patterson onions. This is the first time I'm growing them. They are ready to go into the ground. And these are a good storage variety. I started these in April. You could trim this and use the trimmings, you know, like you would do chives or green onions, and they would still do well. And then you plant the rest of the plant. I'll bring you along when I plant them in the ground. In this container right here, we have some of the seeds have died out, but the ones that are left, this is what you call African basil, masepo, or scent leaf. The seeds are really tiny, so I just sprinkled them on the surface, and they are starting to sprout with the heat. They provide a really lovely aroma to most of our African soups and dishes. Right here we have what you call in our native language anchia. It's in the garden egg family. I started it actually this May, and it is already sprouting because of the heat. It's a heat-loving plant, and you eat the leaves. Once they get to 2 to 3 inches, then I will put them in the ground. I'm just repurposing a lot of the containers that I already have in the house to sprout my seeds. Back here, I have some leeks. This is the King Richard leek. I either label or I keep the plant, the seed packet from which the seeds came from, and they are coming up nicely. Leeks are a cool loving crop. I started these in April, late April, and they'll be going into the ground soon. Same with the onions. Okay. All right, another variety of onions here. These ones are a yellow hybrid. I started them in April. And then the other half, it's a red onion, a red hybrid onion that I started in April. They'll be going into the ground soon. You can see the root system right there. They are getting small for this container. All right. Back here, I started some shallots. I love shallots. They have a nice mild onion flavor. These are, what variety? Zebrun onions or shallots. And I'll plant them in the same area where I'll be planting my onions. We have a random basil plant here. Okay. We have more flowers. I'm just repurposing some of my Tupperware. These are stalks. They are due to be up-potted. And then this is a black or purple snapdragon, these ones. I'm going to up-pot them and eventually put them in the ground. These are flowers. Okay. Okay. In this tray right here, we have amaranth. On this side, we have our usual amaranth or callaloo. This is the green callaloo. And then this is the tete, or it's the one that has a little bit of a purple tinge to it. I got them from True Love Seeds. I started these about 2 weeks ago. They grow really fast with the heat. Okay, and that's it for that shelf. Down on this other shelf, we have some green cabbage here. I got this from one of our local nurseries. Again, I don't grow everything, but I can support my local small greenhouse or garden center. So that's why I got that. We have more kombucha squash here. And then this is some flower that I got from a greenhouse. I just love the compact creeping nature of it. I don't know the name of it. There wasn't a label on there, but it's quite pretty. It will be a nice filler for your planters if you're putting together a flower arrangement. And then over here, for the first time, I started some dahlias. This is a cactus blend. I started these, as you can see, in March. And I have 2, 4, 6, 8 plants that survived. Those will be going into the ground soon. Dahlias are very pretty. They're different colors. They are not a perennial in my zone, but you can dig up the tubers, bring them inside, and then plant them again in the spring. On this tray, I have different tomatoes and some peppers. These are mostly Roma tomatoes that I have here. And then I have one Brady Wine pink tomato. This came back from compost, so I just put it in a bigger pot, up-potted it. I started my tomatoes in late April. That way they won't get root bound and strain in their containers if I started them too early. So from back there all the way up front, we have Roma tomatoes. And then these plants right here are scent leaf or the masepo. This one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's a wonderful spice that we use for our African cooking. It's known as masepo in our area in Cameroon. They also call it a scent leaf or African basil. This is another tray of tomatoes. I have an heirloom basket tomato here. We have a pineapple slicer tomato. Those are indeterminate growing tomatoes. Otherwise, most of these are Roma tomatoes. And then I have more random bitter leaf plants here that I uppotted. In this tray right here, I am excited to grow this for the first time. This is sorrel. We started it in March. It's in the hibiscus family, Jamaican hibiscus. It's also known as the zobo or bisap. These are ready to go in the ground. It's a heat-loving plant. I started this in March, as you can see. And they produce flowers, also known as calyces, that are dried and used to make a wonderful drink known as folere or bisap or zobo. That's another name for it. It's a delicious drink packed with nutrients. Over here, I have this lonely big Jim pepper that is recovering. Most of my peppers got attacked by aphids, and I made a home remedy to spray the leaves, but it was too harsh and destroyed most of my peppers. So some of them survived. This is one of them. If you have a remedy for aphids in the house for your house plants, let me know. I made a combination with peppermint oil, neem oil, and some dish soap, and it might have been too concentrated for the plant, so it burnt them. But this is one of the peppers that survived. I also have a mint plant. This is a ginger mint. I just took the mature cutting from a plant, an established plant, and put it in the ground, and I will grow that. I have different varieties of mint in my garden for tea. Over here, I have a sage plant that I started from seed. Not a lot of them survived, but these two did, which is exciting. And then I have some thyme. This is a lemon thyme. This is a cutting from an established plant that I put in the ground to root. That's another way to start thyme if you're not starting it from seed. And I'm propagating it that way. In this tray, I have an heirloom pear tomato. I got it from a grocery store a while ago and saved the seeds, and this is what they look like. And then right here, I am growing some lovage. It's a perennial in my area. It has a mild celery flavor, and it's great for soups or seasonings. That's what these plants are. Most of my containers are old containers that I've saved from buying plants last year. I'm just starting my plants in that. In this tray, we have different types of onions that I started back in March. Again, onions will grow best based on the variety that does well in your zone. I have a burgundy red onion here. I have some zebrun shallots. I have a long day Walla Walla onion here, and Cabernet onion. That's an intermediate onion. These are quite tall, ready to go into the ground. You could trim these off before you plant them and use them like chives or green onions, and you're good to go. They've been hardening off here in the greenhouse and ready to be planted. On this shelf, I have some aloe vera. This is a good plant, low maintenance. I use the leaves as a hair conditioner, great for burns and other ailments. I also use it as a detangler for my hair, the aloe vera gel. We have more bitter leaf here. In this Ziploc bag, I have some turmeric and ginger roots. And I'm trying to get them to sprout so I can plant them in the ground. So what you do is wrap them with a moist paper towel and put them in somewhere warm. And the ginger root will develop these shoots right here that you can then plant in the ground. They are heat-loving plants. On these two large trays is where I sowed my njama. About a little over a week ago now, I sowed them quite heavily. And as you can see, this is what they look like now. They're not ready to be transplanted yet. We still have maybe about a week to go. But the heavy rains and the heat certainly helps to speed up the growing process. It's also called African nightshade, and there are different names in other cultures around Africa. In this tray right here, we have different cucumbers. We have a red watermelon. We have a yellow watermelon. We have a green zucchini, yellow squash, Waltham butternut squash, Armenian cucumber. All of these I started in May, a few weeks ago. We have a Space Master cucumber, Alpha Bait. I don't know how to pronounce that cucumber. And those are starting to sprout, as you can see. Once they reach 2 to 3 inches, then I'll put them in the ground. These are really fast growing plants. Once the heat is at the right temperature, they grow really fast. We have more bitter leaf here that has been up potted and ready to go into the ground, as well as some random peppers. This is a mini snacking pepper or lunchbox pepper. I also have yellow and orange. This is a orange palmero pepper. It's a long sweet pepper that's great for roasting. And then we have our bitter leaf plants again. No, this is another pepper, but these are the bitter leaf plants that were up potted about 2 weeks ago. You can see they have more space, they've grown taller, and they are ready to go into the ground in a bigger container. Compare this size to this size. You know, we just up potted this one. Okay. In this tray right here, we have some red habanero peppers, heavily planted. We love our spice. And then I have another tray of, this is the yellow habaneros, and these are red habanero peppers. The hot peppers take a longer time to grow compared to the sweet ones. And these have been hardening outside, and we're slowly putting them in the ground in the garden. Okay. Almost done. In these cups here, right here, I have some store-bought ginger. As you can see, it's already sprouting. And I did the same. I basically did the same thing by putting them in the Ziploc bag. Once they had sprouted, then I put them in the ground. They are heat-loving plants. Usually, ginger takes about 8 to 10 months to grow to maturity. So it's good to start it indoors, so it gives you a head start to the growing time, that 8 to 10 month growing time. But I plan to bring some of the shoots indoors over the winter, even if it's not mature. I have 5 trays of peanuts that I've nursed. Let me bring one out. We are dealing with a lot of squirrels in my area, so if I leave these outside, the squirrels will dig them up. So I have them covered in here. We have a few that are sprouting, and they'll be going into the ground soon. We started these indoors, and we'll have a video coming up with a complete tutorial on how to prep your seeds, plant them, harvest them, and enjoy them later on. Peanuts. There's one here. This is a plant. This is what it looks like, the young plant that has already sprouted. That's a peanut plant. And those will be going into the ground in the next few weeks. And finally, I have this tray, or this planter. These are green onions or spring onions, store-bought. I cut the tip off and left about 1 inch of the white and the roots, and I put them in water, and they've been on my windowsill inside. I eventually put them in the ground, and as you can see, they are growing nicely. You can have spring onions all summer long and even all winter. All I have to do is cut the green top up, and it will grow again. It will keep growing. We have some sweet basil and Thai basil here that I started from seed. And then I also have some celery tops. I cut the celery bottom and put it in water. Once it had roots, then I put it in the soil. So we have 4 of them here. And then I have a sweet potato that I put in the ground, from which I'm trying to grow slips. This is a purple sweet potato. Sometimes it does really well. This year I haven't had a lot of luck with it, but I am hopeful. And there you have it. And there you have it, friends. That's a tour of what I have growing in my greenhouse. We've had some successes, we've had some failures, but gardeners are people that solve problems. You don't give up. You try something else, learn from your lessons, ask other gardeners what's working in their area, and you keep going. It's a learning process every single day. I hope you were able to take a thing or two to learn from this tour of my greenhouse. I'll bring you along in the process once I plant most of these in the ground and what's working. It's just amazing to see the process from seed to growing and then eventually planting and harvesting. Please remember to leave me a comment down below about what you're planting in your gardens at this time. I think in most zones around the US, it's warm enough to plant some things in the ground. Let me know what you're planting, what's working, how you're dealing with your seedlings, how you're hardening them off, how you're dealing with watering your plants and maintaining moisture or managing pests. I like to learn from other people what's working and what's not. Also, remember to subscribe to the channel so you can stay tuned to subsequent videos when I plant most of these in the ground and harvest them eventually. And do share with others. There are a lot of people that will benefit from the information I have here. So please share with others. That's how we grow the channel and that's how we learn from each other. Thank you again for taking the time to have this tour with me. And I hope you took a thing or two from this video. Remember to comment below, share and subscribe. Until next time, bye friends.